South Dakota Storytellers brings you powerful personal conversations with South Dakota Hall of Fame inductees, individuals whose lives and achievements have helped shape our state and reach far beyond its borders.
I'm Angela Kennecke, a 2021 inductee to the South Dakota Hall of Fame and also a journalist, and I am conducting interviews for the South Dakota Storytellers series with the South Dakota Hall of Fame, and we are talking with past inductees about their journey in life. They're all high achievers, so we're certainly talking about their successes and their mentors, and we're also talking about their challenges and obstacles that they overcame and how they helped shape the state of South Dakota. And I am now joined by 2005 inductee Harvey Jewett. Thank you so much for being here, Harvey.
Glad to be here.
I'm so excited to talk to you. Such a career you've had. You started in law. You also worked in business and in education. After growing up in Aberdeen. Tell me how your early influences shaped you in South Dakota.
Well, I lived with my dad. My parents were divorced, so my mother was in Minneapolis, so I lived with my dad. So he was a fairly profound influence on me, of course. But you traveled and worked, so I was kind of on my own in town. He'd be gone for several days.
You had to take care of yourself.
Yeah, I'd get to school and get to whatever, and
so I bet you became very independent.
Oh, I think that's true. And but at his behest, I mean, he was part of that. So then I went to the same college prep school that he did. I wasn't a great student in the Aberdeen school system. But in the first month at school, that first year, it was teaching you how to study and teaching you how to read quickly. And it was take notes, and they'd correct the notes. And so that was 3 or 4 weeks. And then that school was all about school, 6 days a week, and so we went to class 6 days a week. So it was that certainly was a profound influence on me. I met, there were 89 Jesuit priests there, and all those people have a doctorate. It takes them 14 years to become a Jesuit priest.
And the Jesuit philosophy is really beautiful. It's really a
It
beautiful
is.
philosophy.
It's a very kind of encompassing philosophy. They're, even though they have a reputation as kind of the foot soldiers of Catholicism, and which they kind of got in England when they were executing priests. Most of those executed priests were Jesuits. But there were, more so they were trenched off to, in the 1400s and 1500s, the rest of the world. They were all over and very accepting of the cultures that they found.
And it's about, the Jesuits really preach about brotherhood and love and
Sure.
helping thy neighbor.
Inclusion.
Inclusion, right. So what of those values did you take with you after that experience in that Jesuit school?
We had a class that we called, or they called, philosophy. We called it government. Or sometimes religion. But it was a study of the moral and ethical leaders of the world in a variety of religions and a variety of bands of Catholic religion, the Orthodox churches. So it was a very kind of inclusive, but very disciplined. It's whose responsibility is it? It's yours. I mean, that's the.
So you learned discipline and responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. I mean, it was, if you didn't do well in school, they threw you out. They just didn't care. If you weren't going to college, you needed to leave. Really, if you weren't going to graduate school, you needed to leave.
What made you decide to go into law?
It's a good question. I don't remember when I made that decision. I do remember because in the yearbooks of my freshman year, they have all the freshmen. So what's your end game? What are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to go to law school.
So you knew it at age 14?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it, and I stuck with it, and I did it. And my class got way too many lawyers in it from there. I've got a third of the class are lawyers. They're just.
What did you like about law, practicing law?
Oh, I love the intellectual exercise of law. I loved school in high school. Undergraduate school was okay, but law school was fun. Fun, and I look forward to it every day. It was a wonderful intellectual discipline to understand what they're saying in this case you're reading and how that applies to the world and how that applies to the case before it and the case after it.
And how everything is connected, right?
Yeah, and
Within
it's
law.
all for how we make life livable. We have a government that keeps we don't have many sword fights or gun fights.
But checks and balances are
Yeah,
important.
checks and balances, and just a decent environment to live in. But as you're living in this society, you have to realize that you have a whole raft of personal responsibilities, and your conduct is always your own. It's always your decision. So if it's stupid or harmful, it's you.
So you transition from law into business with the Super 8 regional motel chain. It's just a small motel chain, growing it into a recognizable national brand, still exists today, is everywhere.
Sure does.
How did that come about? How did you go from practicing law to getting involved in business like
Well,
that?
it was a client. They came in, and the two fellows that had the idea. I mean, the idea was to build a Holiday Inn room, but not have a bar or a restaurant or a pool. All of those things, unless you're truly in the resort convention business, all those things lose money. So that was the idea, and they couldn't quite get the Holiday Inn room, couldn't quite build the room and still they wanted to be half the price. So that they were half the price, and it was a little less than the Holiday Inn size room, but it didn't. You didn't have to pay extra for a phone or
The idea
extra
was
for a TV.
no frills kind
Well,
of thing.
no, but the basics. You
Yeah.
had a good bathroom, shower and tub, and a big TV, not a little box. And you didn't have to pay extra for anything. Everything was included in the room. And the principal competition at that time was Motel 6, and they didn't even have a lobby. They had a teller window outside, and you shoved your money or credit card under the teller window, and you got a key. All the rooms were outside entry, and you paid extra if there was a TV set, I remember they had vibrating beds you could put quarters in.
I've seen old movies that have that kind of thing in it. Yeah.
So, but that was the competition, and they weren't really $6. They were, people were paying 10 and 12 for all of the extras. So that was the idea. So they built the first motel, opened it in June or July of 74. So they had a little problem with their access to the property, which I got straightened out, and my first bill to them was $215. I've still got that bill.
Because boy, did it go beyond that, right?
Yes, it did.
So
Yeah.
you see something in this, though. You saw something in it.
I do.
To take the risk, to go all in. What was it?
They had the one. I thought it was different than it is today. I mean, there was nobody in that niche but Super 8, and they knew it. Those two guys knew it.
So you didn't start it, but you got in at a very important time.
Got right in, and I became a shareholder then. As they were building motels that were in South Dakota, and they were trying to build fast. Fast meant 3 a year. He kind of ran out of money and needed to raise some more money. So the CPA and I invested our money, and we kind of became officers of that company, even though we were in our varying partnerships. So then I was just kind of the chief lawyer, and I wasn't down there, but I kind of had authority to tell people what to do, as did Mike Ewan, and then they made a couple of brilliant hires. A man by the name of Dennis Bale, who's still living in Aberdeen, became the president. And so then we kind of made it formal. So now we really had a board of directors. So my function was general counsel. Ewan's function was chief financial officer. Bale's function was president, and then Rivet found a man by the name of Lawrence Steele, who became the vice president and in charge of franchise sales.
So it was franchised throughout
It was
the nation.
franchised.
And
I mean,
that's
we
how it
owned
grew
the
to be-
first ones.
Right, but that's how it grew to be so big.
Oh, absolutely.
What are you most proud of that time in your life and that business that you helped to build?
Yeah, it grew. It was growing so fast that we missed. It took us a while to realize we had 50 motels open, and we had to cheat a little bit on the 100th. We decided what the 100th would be, and it really wasn't. It was about the 104th.
Oh, you just called one the 100th.
Yeah,
yes,
this one
to
is-
celebrate 100.
That's right.
I gotcha. What philosophies helped guide you in your business and law practice? What helped guide you and helped contribute to your success, do you think?
Well, I'd have a different answer at different times in my life, but I think fairly, we treated our employees well, and if they wanted to leave and they had something better, we were all for them. They could come to us for a letter of recommendation for the next job. And so that's one. But two, we treated the franchisees that way. We made crystal clear what we expected. In other words, clean, and presentable, and well-maintained, and no surprises. We expected that and enforced it. And as a consequence, when we threw out, it was a big decision for a small company, threw out the first 2 motels for failing inspections. They'd paid their royalties, but we threw them out for inspections, and that ricocheted through the franchise.
Because it would tarnish the brand,
It
right?
sure is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you stay in a dump, the next night you're unlikely to stay in what you think is a dump.
Right. So what I hear you saying is relationships, really important.
Sure.
setting expectations and then sticking to them was
Right.
important for your success.
Respect for who they are, and we took that to heart. The people had their areas, and we let them do it. We let them have the job. We let them live the job. We let them exercise ownership over that job. And we had people you couldn't get them to go home. They worked so hard, and it was a traveling job. They were gone all the time. So it was respect and.
So giving
position.
autonomy to your workers was really
Yeah,
important.
well, making sure they delivered what's there. Just because it didn't cost much doesn't mean you treated them poorly.
Right, and your customers, keeping
Yeah.
your customers, yeah. And so not only were you involved, starting out as a lawyer, got into the business of the motel business, and then you went on to be part of the Board of Regents, eventually president of the Board of Regents, part of the Great Plains Education Foundation. Tell me how those things came about. How did you get into education?
Well, Bill Tanklo and I were good friends. And when I got out of the Army, then Janklo hired me to work on the appeals. And so I did, and I saw that was fun. And I
he
liked
also
that.
then asked you to be on the Board of Regents.
He did.
So
He did.
that's how you got onto the Board of Regents, was through this friendship.
He did, and he talked to the regents, and he said, and I'm going to deal with this guy. So it was, so kind of instantly, I tried, when he did it, and this is true, he called me, and I was in Palm Springs Valley playing golf, and he got me off the course. And he said, I just appointed you. I made a public announcement. I said, well, I hope you didn't, because I don't have time.
So
And
you
he
said no.
Well,
you couldn't
it's
say
not-
no.
Yeah. So
You didn't have a choice.
no, and
But-
that is pretty much Bill. That's how Bill got his way. And people said, well, you can't disagree with him, but that just was so far from true. You couldn't disagree with him in a public meeting. You wouldn't like that. But if it was the two of you or three, you could say whatever you wanted. And as long as he was sure that it wasn't going to show up in the Argus Leader the next day.
You had
He'd
definitely
be
had
very
a love-hate relationship with the Argus Leader. We all remember.
Yeah, mostly not
remember
good.
That. Yeah. But so you're on the Board of Regents. First, you're like, no, I don't want to do that, but you have no choice.
Yeah.
But you served for 10 years, or more than a
well,
decade.
21,
Two
actually.
decades, sorry.
Yeah.
You served for 2 decades and was president. And so
For a decade. Yeah.
how do you feel about your contribution to education in the state and for what that means for future generations?
Well, I think we did. We came on, and when Bill appointed me, then I left California and I came back. I got in the car and I drove around and looked at all of the colleges. They pretty much looked the same as they did in 1970. I mean, the Dakota Dome was there, and there was an arena at State, and there was the odd addition, but it had not been taken care of. It was having trouble with enrollments. And some of that continues to this day. We only get about, of the students in South Dakota that graduate from a South Dakota high school, we only get about half of them. And that's not enough. I mean, that's not typical. It's low. Not
for so many universities, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
We only get half of what we should. And so I've never really been able to figure that out. But I think it was true that we had people just kind of retired in place. And
what changes were you able to make on the Board of Regents, do you think, that have had a lasting impact?
Well, we redid every school. We just we started with dorms and then student unions. Those are the two places that every student wants to look at. It's the rare student that wants to look at a classroom.
What difference do you think those changes have made?
Well, I think it was night and day. We got new presidents, we got new deans.
University presidents, new deans.
Right, and we got a new curriculum. There's 10 notorious majors that are the highest paid as you graduate. Well, we offer 9 of those. So you can prepare yourself for 9 of the 10.
What are you most proud of in your career? And what would you like your legacy to be?
Oh, that's really tough. I think we changed, and it's not me, but I had a group of regents who came to do the job. It was a full-time job for me, 5 to 6 days a week, and if there was a problem, I was there. But I had the support of the regents at that time, and they worked 3 days a week. And get paid for, you get paid for the formal meetings. Get paid for flying down to the university to solve some problem. So, I think, so enrollment started to go up. And went up. We ultimately spent $300 million in capital expenses on the 6 universities.
Wow, it's a lot of money.
And only 20 of that, 20 million, was state funds. They were all either student funds, but mostly they were generous corporations and individuals.
But just being able to raise that kind of money is pretty incredible. What does it mean to you to be inducted into to be a part of the South Dakota Hall of Fame?
Well, it's at the time I was kind of embarrassed.
You were embarrassed?
I was.
Why?
Well, I don't know. My wife teased me about it, and my kids teased me about it.
Your wife, Cynthia?
Yeah, Cynthia. And I have a group of friends that were my friends when I was a little kid. We went to college with them.
They've known you your whole life, so they don't get it?
Yeah, they were unmerciful, the abuse I took. That's okay. But I was, after I got done kind of being embarrassed, I was very honored by it. And I appreciate the gesture, and I think that's really important.
About that you are honored to be part of the South Dakota Hall of Fame.
I did not treat that lightly. I thought it was, because I think it's important for a company or a profession to recognize excellence. I think it's part of the glue that holds a company or a profession together, and it's the same for citizens of the state. It's a kind of a variety of things they've done and achieved, and we ought to recognize all those, because all of those kind of go into the mosaic that makes South Dakota. So I felt honored to be a little piece of that.
Well, thank you for being excellent. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, you can learn more about the South Dakota Hall of Fame and South Dakota's greats by visiting our website at www.sdhalloffame.org.